Yes, so welcome to session two of the International Coaching Week with the Tribe of Coaches. My name is Sunil. I am from India. I'm from the southern part of India, which is Bangalore. I currently hold a PCC, and other than that, I would possibly ask possibly share with you this particular presentation to just introduce myself and then all that we stand for. So with that, just share the screen, and then we will get started in just a minute. All right, so that's the screen. So if you can see here, the on the left side, that's me. My name's Sunil. I go by the name NimmaCoach. That's my company's name. In the aspect of it, what does it mean is that it's signifies something very deep for me. It means in the native language of my mother tongue, Kannada, which is spoken across one of the official languages of India. So it means your coach. So I am Sunil and I am your coach. So that's how the introduction goes. So I have been part of this segment of coaching for maybe 3.5 years. I have an active PCC, which is again subject to renewal in the next 3 months. And I'm also en route my MCC journey. So coaching has been a love at first coaching for me. Prior to that, I hold a degree in engineering studies, so which you can see here: engineering, networking, education, passion, values, traveling, stories, sustainability. So these are all things that I am passionate about. I used to work in the corporate segment in terms of software engineering, but I was part of their CSR segment as part of Bosch while I was working. I was part of their CSR segment, volunteering for different causes and taking a team of around 500 plus people to go to different schools, organizations, and basically uh, give value to other people and find value through that conversation. And then slowly somehow became an aspect of coaching. I am a multilingual coach. I coach in three different languages. Kannada, obviously, my mother tongue, Hindi, across India, spoken across India. And the third is English, obviously. So, three different languages that I'm able to coach and maintain the ICF core competencies in. The other languages I don't know, so I don't know how to do that. But otherwise, I do that. And then I'm a poet for the last 15 years, and I also bring the element of poetry in coaching. I love that, specifically when the client's tanks are zero with regards to the logical side has completely gotten to a point of zero fuel and they are still stuck, and that's where the creative segment comes into play. And I love working with poetry, creativity, and all those segments. So this would be the only slide you will see. That's me on most good days. I love my mustache, and that's part of my identity as well. So this here is a QR code to scan my LinkedIn. This here is a QR code to WhatsApp community of coaches. So I run a WhatsApp community of coaches worldwide. We are from different parts of the world. So we meet once every Monday, 7 p.m. India time, and we do a discussion on core competencies on the first Monday. Then the second one, a live coaching session. A third, a live mentoring session. Fourth, usually a Q&A or something else that keeps you occupied. So that's how we roll. We are about 300 plus right now in the overall space. We do offer smaller subgroups for peer coaching, but then we want to build a community of coaches for coaches with coaches. So that's how it is. And the other QR code that you see at this bottom is me actively trying to figure out a space where I can ask people for a testimonial for the session that they've sort of come here with. So this is also a space where this is one of the action items from one of the coaching sessions I have had, wherein I can now ask for testimonials because I am good at what I'm doing. So this also is a work in progress. So this is what you will see at the beginning, and this you will also see at the end of the session as well. So that's all that I had to offer in terms of the official introductions and all that there is. Govind would also share these links with you on the chat. And if that anyway aligns with you now, later, anytime, you can always get back. So with that base covered, we are good to start. So any expectations that you had, which you can directly drop to me on the chat, I'd be mindful of that and cover that in the space today. All right. So I will see the chat. I will keep the chat in my mind. So I will give you a slightly more deeper interpretation of what my coaching journey is. So I had never gotten coached. So I don't know what coaching was the moment coaching entered my life. Right. So I had zero availability of any data to say what is coaching, what is not coaching. I had come from a space of software engineering, so typically entering into this space, I knew what training was, I knew what mentoring was, and I didn't even know what coaching was. So I had a very different career trajectory. Uh, Inside the corporate, for the first 2 years, I had my own burnout. So I had that experience of burning out, and then possibly also an experience where I started to, or I had a space where I took a sabbatical because I was burnt out. That led me to sort of try entrepreneurship for the very first time. And I understood what we will talk about today is the power of referrals. So that's what got me there. So I got my first gig way back in 2018. I had no idea what coaching was. I had my first writing gig. One person reached out to me saying, I need to work with you. And over the course of the next 9 months, I had about 350 blogs that I had written, thanks to four people who had, in the chain of equations, built something for me. And that's a success story or a takeaway that I bring to the conversation and the equation today in terms of what can help in terms of getting my clients and how I started to charge them for it. Right. So this is trajectory one or story one of the segment. Then I come back to my workplace. I build an ecosystem that sort of allows me to mentor quite a lot of people. I exit the organization and then I find out what coaching is. So I am an accidental coach, but a damn good coach at that. That's what I realized. And if I am telling you that I'm a damn good coach, it's taken a lot of work for me to say, yes, I am good at it. It's almost 1,300 hours of experience that's gone into this that says, yes, I know I'm good at it. So this happened, and it's taken time to happen. So one thing that we really need to sort of understand here in the entirety of the equation is there is a thought process as to why we say it's called building a coaching ecosystem. You don't inherit a coaching ecosystem, you build it. So that's where it's a space where it chimes into what who you are, what you're doing. And the next part of the story is yes, I quit. I figured out that coaching can be there. So I paid fees for somebody who said, yes, we will make you a leadership coach. And I didn't believe that I was a leader at that point of time. Neither I could say, okay, I was a coach. So I started off at that point in the equation. And my first coaching call, I knew I had fallen in love with coaching. So it was love at first coaching. And that was that. But there's a difference between how you actually end up to a point of saying, yes, I would love to now figure out a way forward, see this through. And that was where I was using some of my older strengths to basically build on this equation. Any idea what was the first, uh, how I charged my first client? Yeah, obviously that's why you're here in terms of figuring out what I did charge my first client. And I would tell you I'd be very transparent with what I charge. But then, what do you think is where I started? Cup of coffee, yes. Yes, cup of coffee did work. It was a book first, and then a cup of coffee a little later. then possibly a lunch at a particular hospital, sorry, hotel. Then it was somebody who gave me, what is that? Entire tour on how to build a website, which I finally didn't uh, build a website, but I did have them consult me for it for about 3 hours, 3 hours of coaching and 3 hours of consultation. And yeah, maybe a favor in return for a testimonial. Absolutely, Anusha. I think you're on the right card. So my first, it was a friend that I asked for, and I was shivering when I asked this friend, saying, "Hey, I need you to pay me 100 rupees for a first one coaching call. 100 rupees is approximately $1.10, approximately €1. Yeah, so somewhere along that line, you make your segments, right? It's just about €1, and I was like really not sure whether I can really ask that much amount of money for what coaching was. Then slowly 100 became 250, 250 changed over to 500, 500 changed over to 1000, 1000 changed over to two and a half, two and a half to five, five to eight, eight to 15. So somewhere along 15, I've sort of built a number that is there. But then if I look back at it, my lower threshold has now somehow built up to around two and a half thousand, to around 15,000. So why I say threshold of two and a half to 15 is that I very clearly made an understanding that I do not do B2C, sorry, B2B, which is direct to company. So it was a very obvious choice to say, look, I will not do B2B as much as possible, but then I have conversations where people reach out to me and say, look, I need another coach for a project. Can you come over and work with me? So that's usually how the whole segmentation has helped. So it is as important to, yeah, how much is this in dollars? So basically, my first one, Shiba was $1, then two, and then if I now look back at it, now my current segment is around $200 an hour, and it's a number that I chose, which is nowhere an indication of what is the value of the session there is, what is the value for the client there is, whether the client is willing to pay for it. But then the answer that I would basically like to put at is at every other time, I had no idea to ask what. What is the answer? ChatGPT gave me random numbers. ChatGPT gave me saying, hey, at ACC, you can ask for, say, 5,000 rupees. And that's per session. And PCC, you can go up to 20, 25. And again, that's per session. And I work with a target segment whose entire month is about one fourth of whatever I was asking, or four times whatever I was asking. So would somebody give me 25,000 per session? That is one fourth of their entire salary a month. And that was the question I was asking. And I knew that was not the case. So my space was, if I have a number in mind to say, hey, these many number is what I want at the end of the session, end of the month, I would rather look at two games. One is that it's an experience of getting volumes or getting one person to crack that. Or say if I'm looking at 1 lakh, which approximately is $1,000. Right? 1 lakh is $1,000. If I'm looking at that per month, then how many people do I need to close to get that number? The lower I keep the number, the higher is the number of volume that I have to close. So I came up to a possibility, say, hey, I don't think my clients are going to get to a place where they'll be able to afford such a heavy pricing for say four people. So then I had to look for say 20 people that I would have to accommodate to get to that number. So for me, that was the number that I was looking for. And that number is in nowhere an indication of your value as a coach. One of the first things I understood is what I charge is a business decision. What I charge is got nothing to do with my credit, what do I say it? My value or my worth as a coach. You should always separate the value of your skill set as a coach versus what you charge as a coach. And I've had conversations where a cup of coffee has been far more satisfying than all the corporate jargons that I have to fill out in an entire ecosystem and send it to me, send it to them, and get billed after 2 months. My billing cycle was 2 months down the line. That means if I've done a session today, I would get paid by the organization 2 months later. So I was out of a job. I had to figure out. So I sort of figured out saying, hey, let me play the game where we can play the volume game. I will talk to my friends. And by now, you should know that I am an intro. I am not an introvert. I am an extrovert. I had my own segments of being an introvert a very, very, very long time back. And those who in my childhood would vouch for it that Sunil could not speak more than 10 words in an entire day. But then Sunil now speaks, say, entire day's worth of things in an hour. So there's a lot of things that has changed. So one of the simplest deals that I did during my ACC, uh, another quick context, I finished my 100 hours in 3 months. I finished my 500 hours in a year, less than a year. So, and I had nothing else to do except get more hours, get more skills, get more experience. And the hours would not just saying, hey, you coach me and I coach you, being a random topic, close it. So these were hours that I put intention into to making sure that I got better as a coach with every hour. So that was the space that every coaching session found itself in. And so what I did was I crafted a simple message and I shared it to my entire network. So some of you would have got an email from me saying, "Hey, you have registered for the ICW. Please, look at this. These are all the other sessions that there are." And every year I do that. Every year I get at least two or three messages. Please remove me from your list. And who asks, I remove them. But otherwise, I keep informing people saying, "Hey, something like this is happening." So my first account of getting clients were with my own friends. And I wrote a standard message, which was also then LinkedInized, as in, like, I made an article on LinkedIn saying what is coaching, what is not coaching, how does somebody approach me, where is the calendar, what does it happen. Then two messages, one in English, one in the local language, which they were more appropriate with. And then I reached out to around 500 people at that point of time. And that's where the extrovertish possibility is very strongly there. So I had, at that point, when I reached out to 500, I was reaching out to one third of my network. So I had about 1,500 contacts. And that's also a thing that I realized is contacts is not equal to connections. So what you have to establish is you have to establish a connection with the other side. And once you build a connection, that connection is what's going to get you conversations. From conversation is where you're going to get your conversions. So that's the 3C formula that I followed. So I wrote to these people. These people were mad at me for quite two reasons. They were mad at me because I had not informed them that I was quitting the corporate. I then reached out saying, you know what, I quit my corporate. So it was rage baiting them to figure out saying, hey, let them help me out. So they helped me out. I reached out to 500 plus people with a simple message, a poster, a message, a LinkedIn post, and an audio message, all sent within 2 or 3 days of the first message. So each had 1 or 2 days of segment. So out of the 500, I think 70 of them responded to it either with a negation or a positive segment. So either of those two, 70 of them responded. Out of that, 15 were my first clients who actually paid for it. They paid in different ways. Like I said, some did a website review, some consulted me on something, somebody else helped me figure out something else. So they were bartering, or there was a barter ecosystem that was involved, and some actually also paid with, say, uh, dinner, lunch, coffee, book. So there were different exchanges that got involved because I didn't have to wait to have a monetarily paying client. So payment in a way can be defined in multiple segments. And when I did that, so out of that 15 people were who got coached. And they had a simple segment saying, can you vouch for 5 hours? 5 into 15 is 75 hours. And pretty easy to get you 100 hours after that, right? 75 hours. Each day, give me 1 week. Sorry, each week, give me 1 hour. That was the understanding that I had. A lot of follow-ups, making sure they followed up. They were on the calendar, the link, XYZ. So there were some efficiency measures for sure. But then this is how my first clientele came in. And these were clients that I was charging less than a dollar, approximately a dollar segment. And then one of my seniors in this first 15 was a senior from my college who had reached out for something with regards to coaching. And then he had 3 or 4 sessions with me. He didn't complete the five. But then what he gave me was 5, 6 other people who he sent us referrals over the next 3, 4 years, or the next 3 years that he's been a part of that ecosystem. So every time he figures out somebody else that needs coaching, so he gives them a call saying you should talk to Sunil. And that's how I enter into the ecosystem. Right. So that's the easiest way to get your clientele. And for me, because I was talking about the paid equation, the US game started with charging them $5 an hour. And I was also at that point saying, hey, can I even charge $5? And remember, I had never got coached before. I had no idea what coaching was. And every other coach I asked for who were in the segment said, oh, charge according to market value or charge, say, $200, $300 an hour. And I said, I don't think I would ever pay $300 an hour for anything. And I come from that part of that history of an ecosystem. Where for us, if I'm looking at $300, that's a lot of money. That's 25,000 rupees plus. It's a lot of money for an hour. And I'd rather say, look, I do chat GPT, I'd ask 15 of my uncles, 13 of my aunts, and figure out a way forward. I don't want to pay so much for an hour. And with no guarantees involved saying, yes, I will get something out of it. Because as coaches, we say, I don't know what, I can't guarantee an output from our end. So if I tell all that to my friends and my clientele, they will run far away from me rather than anywhere towards where I am. So these are things that help me figure out, oh yes. And with that became a pipeline of people who came through referrals. And the pipeline was slow. Pipeline was unpredictable. So that's when the other idea which sort of evolved before I get there. Am I resonating with you? Is that giving you more questions or answering some of your questions? I'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes just to sink in. So, any questions, anything you would like to add? I am now looking at the chat. Right. Perfect. Thank you. Perfect. Any questions so far? Any one of you have tried the same, not tried something? Any questions that you would want to ask? If not, then I continue.
Yeah, perhaps one from my side.
Please, Eric, go ahead.
This is Eric from Singapore. Just wondering, I like your idea of the LinkedIn part. Now, I have a big LinkedIn group network,
Mm-hmm.
about 4,000 people. But as
Mm-hmm.
you rightly say, quite a few of those people, I don't even know who they are, right? So I like your idea of blasting out something to at least your closer connections. But does LinkedIn have a function to sort that? Like to say, here's all the people that actually have clicked on stuff that I posted.
Interesting question. It says first circle, second circle, third circle, but that's how it's mostly like, do they follow you? Do they like somebody follows you and nobody follows you? That's the segment that
Hmm.
says 1, 2, 3.
But when you say first circle, right? What does
Mhm.
that mean?
So they follow you back in return. So
Ah, okay, yes.
that's the first circle. So for example, say me and Govind so follow each other. So
Hmm.
Govind and I will be each other's first circle.
Hmm.
And say right now, because I'm assuming we've not yet connected on LinkedIn, but there's somebody in ICF Singapore that I know and you know. So you will come in our second list. saying, hey,
Yeah.
there's a mutual connection that connects both of us.
Mm.
And possibly Madeline and I generally no mutual connection. She'll come in my third segment in LinkedIn language. That oh,
Yeah.
there's nobody that connects either of us. So LinkedIn may or may not work for the broadcasting, but one tip is who usually responds to when you post. Who are the people who are
Yeah.
liking your post? Will give you an indication saying, hey, there's somebody there that's working on that. The LinkedIn also is beautiful in a way that I love LinkedIn because of this, that I don't have to wait for somebody to engage with my content.
Mm.
I can go ahead and engage with their content already, so that after three or four comments on their post, they are like, who's this fellow?
Yeah. That's a
And
good
that's
idea.
how it's a pull segment. So that's one. Uh, but I haven't tried this. Maybe the sales navigator may work. I don't know if that's a possibility. The sales navigator may give you another better idea.
Yeah. I
Have
know some people at LinkedIn. I'm going to find that out if there is a way to get stats, at least under premium, of who interacts how much with you. If I'll
yeah.
share that in the coaching tribe group.
Perfect. Perfect. All right.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Anyone else? I think I have one from Anusha. Uh, one from James as well. So I will answer those two and then we'll move forward. I hope that's perfectly fine. How did you handle disappointment when people didn't hire you for coaching? I think that's a perfectly awesome question, right? So let me put it this way. So I had the segment to at that point to finish my hours, which was say get 15. And if I had to get 15, I had to reach 300, like even a 20% or a 2% ratio. Yeah, or a 20%. Percentages are a problem. But then if I'm looking at it, so if you go for a larger volume of ecosystem, the amount that will converge or convert will always be higher. So you're getting usually to around 5 to 6% conversion anyways, like a general segment. You may not get that big. So disappointment is not part of it. I'd say it's an acknowledgement that both of us are not the right fit. So once that acknowledgement as the right fit and not the right fit is available, the rest becomes just easy. Yeah. Okay, Katya. I understand that is the answer your question. Perfect. Katya has one as well. Let me go to that. Looking back, everything learned for what to say. Might I have done differently? Oh, this is a beautiful question. I would have gotten to coaching earlier. That's an answer that I usually say. Uh, I do. If I have to really honestly reflect on that and share, I would have been a lot more hands-on with the people that I had reached out to. That 500 that I reached out to, I would have made it more personalized, give them a call, have a call with them. Hey, hello, how are you? How you been doing? So what's helped me convert conversations is a phone call. It's direct phone call. All their queries and questions are answered then and there within say 3 minutes to 5 minutes. And then I know, yes, this is a conversation worth taking forward. And especially in my case, a lot of them wanted to figure out saying what is Sunil doing, and they wanted to genuinely help without knowing what this is all about. And therefore, I scored big there. But if I had to do it anyway, knowing that well enough that this came through, and it came through a conversation that says, I know Sunil, I trust Sunil, Sunil is knowing Sunil will be good at his job. Let's see what this is. So that's how it ended up becoming an easier process for me to figure out. And and one of the reasons I keep my name, the coaching name as Nimma Coach, which means your coach, is that everybody has told me that Sunil, it feels like I know you, and then I know you as a coach. I don't know you as a role of the coach. I know you as an individual, and then essentially I know you as a coach. I haven't spent a single rupee on marketing. And yeah, numbers wise, decent numbers. So what I had put in terms of what my coaching uh, training was, coach training was about 3.5 lakhs at that point. It was possibly $3,000. I got that back within a year and a half. I got that back in different segments because what I realized is I had a blitzkrieg. I realized that I could do sessions like this. And every year when I do a session like this through the ICW, I at least get 4 conversions from my mentor coaching. So, and then I set up the, like not strategically set up, but then it so happened that I finished my PCC and then I set up a coach community, and the community we regularly interact on a day-to-day basis. And that's where I got my mentees. It didn't happen to be that it was part of a strategy, build a community from the community. It'll come in. I genuinely wanted to give that space because when I started to ask people what to charge, I was getting random numbers. And I knew with my clientele, these numbers will not work. And that's where I said, what is the maximum I am ready to pay for a session? I said, okay, 100 rupees, which is $1. And within a week or so, I realized 100 is too small. And then I said, okay, let me be adventurous, 2x the same. So I put it at 250. And slowly, the more I realized that, hey, I am really good at what I'm doing, and the external validation is not there in terms of how much money I'm charging, it became a business decision. Can I charge somebody lesser versus can I charge somebody premium? The quality of work is going to be the same. Therefore, at that point, it becomes a business decision to charge somebody whatever that you are charging. And at some point, you charge somebody lower because you just want them in. So that at some point, once they're in, they experience a coaching session, they'll come back to you at a little later point of time. Somehow here I've been blessed by multiple people, so I got opportunity after opportunity. There were places where I built the opportunities in the first place. That's how it sort of came by to this ecosystem. All right, how did you handle disappointment? Yes. Okay, catered who can't offer B2B rates. Okay, what's your thought on coaches promising outcome-driven coaching? How far do you see it from your experience? I think that's a very dangerous slope to go by, James. Yeah, Janice, sorry. Uh, that we cannot promise something and say, oh, we'll get into the coaching promising something. And therefore, specifically with regards to the ethical conversation that we have with ourselves, can we promise that to our client saying, hey, yes, I will make sure you get a job. I'll make sure you become a leadership material. I'll make sure you do this. So that will be a little heavy. What you can say is that with regards to whatever is your goal, I would make sure that in terms of my support, in being present with you and observing all that you may not observe as an individual, I will be fully there with you. But otherwise, your commitment is your commitment. So your commitment is going to be your commitment. That's what is going to be the conversation starting itself. And based on that, it's there. So I've had some crazy conversations, right? So a friend of mine, 3 days before his marriage, reaches out saying, "I think I'm having second thoughts." So I don't know if I have to say yes, I'll make sure your marriage goes through, or oh, whatever your decision is, I'll make sure this goes through, right, with that. I can't say anything with that. And these are, if you look at it to a non-transactional coaching. And very honestly, I don't have an issue. Anybody who comes to me says, "Hey, I have a coaching topic. I have a topic to work through." I usually talk to them saying, "Okay, I can coach, I can mentor, I can also consult, and this is what it would be if I'm doing coaching. This is what would be if I'm doing mentoring, and this is how it would be if I'm doing consulting. And then how do you want me to approach this?" Because at some point, if somebody is coming with a problem, you are a consultant. and a coach, not necessary that you have to always take on the role of a coach. You can at that point take on the role of a consultant, very clearly demarcating it with a contract, with your understanding, with an email or whatever that essentially makes it that yes, both of us are in agreement that this is what it is. And very honestly, don't put it in a coaching log, but you're still getting paid for doing consulting. And it's very, at the chemistry call itself, it is very clear. And I've had people come to me initially for consulting, then for mentoring, and then for coaching. So their trajectory has happened. So do not let go of an opportunity just because, oh, I can't say yes, I can't guarantee that stuff. So if you're going at that promising segment, start saying I'll be a consultant at this point, and then it goes into something else. Janice, does that answer your question? Right.
Yes,
So
thank you so much.
thank you. And yes, wondering what an introvert if not comfortable doing it. Sarita, I'm wondering what as an introvert she would do. I'd say it's easier to introverts because you do build deeper connections with people, right? It's start with that. You can ask for a referral from the person that you are looking at, saying, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think anybody in your circle would fit this requirement of, say, somebody needing career coaching, somebody needing leadership coaching, somebody needing life coaching? Can you recommend them to me, knowing fully well that it is me you're recommending to?" Yes. How do you plan the discovery call? A discovery call, I'll just set it up. So usually the discovery call happens through, say, LinkedIn, or the entry point happens through LinkedIn, a friend. I'm part of multiple business networks, BNI, and BNI-ish conversations around that place. So there are a lot of people that I'm already basically networking, and then I tell them, hey, this is what I do as a coach. There are a few success stories that I've told to them. They are more curious about, oh, what is this happening? Curiosity no, kills the cat elsewhere, but curiosity gets the client here. And then after that, a demo in the session as to what coaching looks like, a small demo of it, and then wheel of life, and we go ahead. So typically that's how it is. But then that's itself is a bigger conversation. We've done like ping me a little later, ping me or go in a little later. Last ICW, we had done a session on how do you work with a discovery call. I should be able to figure that out and I'll share that with you. Um, yeah, I think discovery call. The advice would be to bring people in with curiosity, and that's where they are open, you are open. Um, oh, how do you know you're a good coach? I think there's a session for that, Namit. Uh, that how do you know you're a good coach? There's a session that I'll be hosting one of these days. You jump on board. But if I had to answer it in one sentence, the moment this question reduces in intensity and it becomes more and more silent in your head, that's when you know you're right. And I know it's a very spiritual answer for a very technical question, but then if I had to answer all of that, you'll have to attend that session. So that's how you know. Uh, Anything else? Otherwise, I'd love to go to how the scaling aspect has yeah, more on converting likes on post to paid coaching sessions. Okay, I'll come back to that after we've completed this. So until now, the journey has been, in a way, like whatever I've shared. This is the first client conversations, and surely, anytime there is a success story or a testimonial, make sure you screenshot it, do a little bit of Canva presentation, and reshare it on your WhatsApp, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever. And I think I keep saying this every time I do a session, every time I do a conversation like this. How many of you go to marriages, functions, events, networking events, seminars, workshops, That has nothing to do with coaching. Because I go to marriages and functions right now to see if there is a client there. I love the food there, that's a different ballgame. But then I'm going there to see what is there. So I go on a weekday, and people are like, "How come you are coming on a weekday? Are you not in a office segment?" I'm like, "No, I run my own business." They're like, "Oh, what do you run?" And to that I say, "Look, I run four different businesses, all full time. And I consult for people's LinkedIn. I do their LinkedIn management. I do podcasting as a service for coaches, doctors, artists, and many others. And typically, I teach poetry to kids and adults, and then I do leadership coaching. And then each of that, they're like, oh, what is this? What is this? So different people will subscribe for different businesses. Somebody with a teenage daughter who's always on the phone would be like, look, I need somebody to teach my daughter poetry so that, or writing so that she'll switch off the phone and sit with something else. And somebody would be like, oh, podcasting. I think I'd love to have my business shared on your podcast. So that's how the conversations build to conversions. And now I did this right away now. So I told you of three of my other businesses in this pitch with 39, 38 people listening. And some of you would be like, look, I want this for myself. So anybody can reach out and do it in a way that they feel curious about it. And they're like, oh, what do you do as a leadership coach? And you answer according to what their equation is. So I can't tell an 80-year-old saying, hey, you know what, I ask questions, I make it a safe space. I do observations, I ask powerful questions. He's going to look at me like a child looks at somebody blabbering 300 words a minute. So you will have to give them an example. The easiest example I give them is I help people figure out what their problems are and solve that like it's a fun game, like it's a treasure hunt. So I have now have their complete attention. What do you mean treasure hunt? So they say, oh, look, quite simple. Every other treasure hunt involves different solving of different clues. So there could be a blind spot where people don't know what to look for. I help them figure out the clue. But I don't do that manually, as in, I don't do the figuring out, but I help them figure out their own clues and move from one clue to the other. And finally, they know X is where the treasure is, and they get there during many sessions. And then I have their curiosity. And then they say, yes, okay. And then I say, look, if this is not the right place to talk about it, let's do a call. Let's figure out a good time. I will share my calendar. I will share my LinkedIn and XYZ. And that's how the first entry point comes in, and the rest of the process goes. Yeah. So the treasure hunt metaphor is something that I have been asking or I've been sharing for a very, very long time. And so one of the exercises my coach training teacher Sunita did was to say, as soon as we finished our first 8 hours of class, she said, now write a script that you will explain coaching to people who have no idea what coaching is. And this is what I came up with. The poetry segment in me really helped, but then this is how it really brought into the equation. Right. So the before I answer any of those questions, another thing that's coming to me, what also helped with that 70 people that I reached out and the 15 that converted was my next specialization that came in, which was multilingual coaching. I am part of ICW Bangalore. ICW Bangalore is there in Bangalore, and they have about 250 coaches plus as part of their regular members. And I think floating members here and there across Bangalore, we have around 300, 400 coaches. And Bangalore has multiple languages or people speaking multiple languages. But Kannada is the base language or the native language of the people here from a long time. Out of that 300 to 400, I am the only one who tells people saying I can coach in Kannada. And when a coaching gig landed itself, I had to work as it is a more of a facilitation session with the Karnataka State Police Department. And this was 250 people that I had to facilitate. in 2 days. It came to me only and only because I had made noise everywhere that I went, and I told people everywhere that I went that, look, I coach in Kannada. And this emerged out of that equation because people were like, if I asked, how are you feeling? I did not have a vocabulary to answer that in English. But they had the same vocabulary in the regional language. And that's why it became very easy to do that. So you should look at what makes you as a coach have multiple specializations. The niche is a very different ballgame. So I can do poetry and coaching for a leadership niche. I can do poetry and coaching for parental niche. I can do poetry and coaching for anything else. I can coach in Kannada, Hindi, and English for any of those spaces. So that's how to figure out. Plus the magic of referrals that I was talking about. The first client of mine, who I charge $5 per hour, gave me a gig that gave me $100 an hour. And at that point, at somewhere along the line, the person that I was charging $100 an hour fell ill, and she said, "Look, I don't have money. Can you still do it at a lesser price?" I said, "Yes, why not?" Because the value that I was giving and the value that she was getting could not be measured in revenues. And at some point of time later in the day, she put me in touch with a referral that I now very happily charge $300 an hour. So the money that I lost pretty easily came back. So do not shoot yourself in the foot. Be penny wise, pound foolish. I don't know if that's the right this thing. So these are strategies that you have to look at. And looking at coaching as a business is a very different ballgame than coaching as a learning sector. One of the harshest truths that I found out. And what helped me to look at the volume game was in my corporate social responsibility days, we had 2 months to raise 4 lakhs, that is 400K Indian rupees, for a renovation of a toilet in one of the schools that was housing 600 kids. If we miss our deadline, then 600 kids will have no washroom to work with. So during holidays, we had to get this done. And this is costing us 400K. And people running the project said it can't be done. And I said 400K, we have 10 volunteers. Each of them has to get 40K. Right? So that's how we built it up. And each of them were in turn giving instructions to 4 of their people to say get 10. And they were in turn giving instructions to others to get 1. And that's how the pyramid scheme of money built in. So all I have to do is now get the same segment in terms of my volume. At the end of each month, at the end of each, say, quarter, these many numbers will come to me. So that's how the whole business segment launched into that. I have received a lot of flack from the experienced coaches that don't do pro bono coaching. But I've had excellent experiences doing pro bono coaching. So if I have to do define pro bono for me is non-monetary gain. Okay, so I do not expect any monetary gain out of that. So one of the clients which who did not um, uh, you know pay me for the session ended up sponsoring 2 of the kids that I run a scholarship program for, which at the end of the day is still impact, still output. But the money came to me as to my bank account, typically still counted as paid. Right, so somebody else that did a resume review for one of my this thing, and that helped me build a better resume, get through to an organization as such. But it didn't really convert. But then it happened like that. And any guesses in terms of the number of people in the last 3 years that I've met, just because I put out an offer that I'm offering non-monetary based conversations where the barter can happen in multiple ways. How many people do you think I met? Random guess. Well within 150. Yeah. So 150 is the number of conversions that I've had a conversation with. Then the amount of people that I have connected with the first conversation is about 400, 450 plus. One poster, one Google form, and relying on the previous network that already exists. Now my network is about 4,500 people, and I use broadcasting as a huge segment to share it with WhatsApp uh, and Facebook, Instagram, wherever. And in WhatsApp, I ask them to share that on their status, saying Sunil is a trusted friend. He is doing something interesting. I trust Sunil. He's good at his job. Give it a shot if this aligns with you. They come in. I have a same conversation with them. Out of 400, 100 have actually said yes to coaching. Out of that, maybe 70 have completed 3 hours of coaching. Out of that, in some way or the other, paid clients have come up to around 25. So 70 to 25 or even 400 to 25 is a massive conversion thing. Again, amount of money spent on uh, Facebook, Insta ads, zero. It's all relying on somebody that I know and that says, oh yes. And for them to say, I know Sunil does a good job, you will have to build that relationship. So you will have to keep your leads warm, referrals warm, talk about your success stories, post your success stories, testimonials on LinkedIn, and most importantly, make sure the people who are responding to your LinkedIn posts are not people who are coaches, unless you have coaches as your target audience. And I have coaches as my target audience because I want to get into mentoring, I want to get into coach training, I want to build my own ACC, PCC program in the next 3, 4 years. So coaches typically still become a target audience for me. Right? So if that's not the case for you, make sure you are actually talking in the right rooms. And maybe the last part, which I will talk about before we go into Q&A, is build rapport with fellow peer coaches. Because I got a gig, or my friend got a gig, where she had to do 30, uh, work with 30 clients in a month. And if you look at it, even 2 sessions with 30, 60 a month is a big number to work with all the other things that you already have running. And she called me to say, look, I need totally 5 people. You are in. She didn't even ask, are you in? She's like, you are in. I want you to do this. And I want you to recommend 3 other coaches. And I recommended those 3 other coaches. So totally 5 of us, 30 clients. And possibly each of us got businesses that were pretty easily $3,000. So this is not even something that I asked for, came from me. And purely because of that rapport that I had built with somebody else. And that's where your networking, even amongst coaches, becomes important. That you're not looking at peer coaching only as an example to say, oh, I am giving you hours, you're giving me hours. But you're also looking at if I get a gig, will the person on the other side improve my reputation or destroy my reputation? Make sure that as when people think the other way that you are able to improve their reputation and they'd love to work with you if a project comes along. And at some point, if you give first, they would always be wanting to give you back in return. And if they get a big project, there's a very high possibility that you build it up. So this is where I pause. I think I've ticked off 2 of these, how I started charging and what's been my journey in terms of working with clients, how I built it up so far. And if I have to be very honest, this is still like phase one of my building in a phase 20 ecosystem. But this is how it's been built. And most honestly, if I have to look back at it and want you to take something, what you bill your client is not what you are valued as a coach. Make sure that you take that away from this session. What you're billing is a business decision. And make sure you have a business strategy as to why you are billing somebody less, if at all you're billing somebody less. And at some point, invest in our client because they're going to give you referrals like crazy. And on that, like the sidestepping one of my this thing. So I handle about 14 LinkedIn profiles now. And this is just from 6 months of work. I only had to convert the first one. He's given me not well, he's given me 8 of them as referrals and all converted on the spot. Just two conversations. What do I do? How much do I charge? What do they need from me and what do I need from them? Because he said, oh, this person is told means you are good at the job. Period. So it will also happen to you. Build on that. And yeah, in LinkedIn, make sure that non-coaches and your target audience is responding to what you are writing. So these are my thought processes. This is where I pause. We have another 15 minutes for Q&A. Make sure you are leaving with your questions answered. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for putting that up here. Anything else? Anusha, you've been smiling across. I am expecting something from you. All right. Yes.
Hello. Thank you very much for that. It was really refreshing, actually, and I really appreciate the openness and the generosity with which you've shared. I was just thinking about your first year of starting up
Mm-hmm.
and what kind of basic things you set up for yourself. Like, did you go to the trouble of setting up your website? Just to understand what the basics were from a
Mm-hmm.
business sense. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, which part of England are you from?
Just outside London.
Okay.
So,
So I have a thing with figuring out where the voice is coming from. So just that. So thank you for indulging me on that. Yes. So this also was covered in another segment, another thing in the last ICW, my first 100 days as a coach. So then I'll still answer that anyways, right? So um, no website. That is one of the things that is very, very clear. I wanted to use LinkedIn as a website. So now if you typically look at it, you will post something on your website, you will post it on LinkedIn, and people on LinkedIn will come to that, right? Or you post somewhere on Instagram, and then you bring them back to your website, and somebody will look at that. And in a attention economy, do you really want to play that there are two filters to get to somewhere? So therefore, I use LinkedIn as my this thing. My first 1 year, 1.5 year was only on skills. I had very little paid clientele in my first year. As in, like, I didn't want to get into that segment of saying, let me also get paid clientele while I was getting my credentials. And I had my first 1 year only PCC, like ACC and PCC were done in the same year. So instead of getting to that segment, get to PCC, start charging PCC segments at that. And then I was under the impression that as soon as I finished my PCCs, all the training, what's that? Aggregators would be like, Sunil, we saw that you did a PCC, we'll come to you. Nothing like that happened. It was, water on my dreams at that point of time. But typically, that's what helped me to realize that, yes, if I have to build my website or I have to build this thing, nobody else is going to build it for me. And that was a very strong output, right? And everybody else is building their own segments. I don't want to copy them because what works for them does not work for me. And that's the whole essence of coaching. And secondly, throughout the first year, what changed was my confidence in my ability to uh, get better at coaching. And because I was good, everything else just automatically built on that. And then I was more confident, and I started to appear in these places, look at markets that were unexplored, untapped. And then, like I said, even now there are no coaches who openly tell that I coach in Kannada. And that's a 6.5 crore population market, or more than that, far more. So it's that setting up, becoming more clear. Don't worry about your niche in the first year, and your niche will, like your relationship with yourself, it will also have its ups and downs, and at some point you would realize, yes, this is what I am. Uh, and that's where it really makes big delta, right? So I hope your question, some extent, has been answered.
Yeah, thank you. That's really encouraging.
Was that? So thanks, Pratima. Pratima loves my confidence. Worth doing PCC? Oh, my 2 cents to it. Absolutely yes. If you're doing PCC to build your skill set, which does happen through the journey of PCC, my 2 cents is to it. If you're doing PCC because everyone else is doing it, may not really give you the output that it does. But even in that process, it changes you as an individual, it changes you as a coach. Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. Um, and it again depends on the hours that you have. We're doing it on the portfolio. Are you doing it on this? Do you want to put money? The decision has so many other things, but is it worth its salt? Yes. And I am on my MCC journey right now. So if people ask me saying, is it worth doing MCC? I'm like, you bet, it is worth it. Because the internal shift that it does is excellent. Because I am a 34-year-old kid entering into an ecosystem of adults in coaching. And if I have to give 26 sessions, it tells you something about who I am. And it's only because of the skill set, the experience, and things that I've built, right? Immaculate asks, networks and avenues, yeah, other than your friend circle. Facebook, there are 2 groups on Facebook where you can ask for the coaching. There are communities that you can put a message out to, where you can say, hey, NGO organizations that would be open for a logo. No, some of your today is Mother's Day, so some mothers network that you're part of. Ask your parents because they'll be very happy to. At least this is an Indian context. I don't know what in the other segments where it is how friendly with WhatsApp and other social media your parents are. Uh, right, so they would be happy to push you through. And right now I've trained my mom to say, hey, what is coaching? And whenever she goes, she also takes my the requirement for me to get married with the same thing for me, the requirement to get business, so both run on the same segment. And so she does talk about what I do, and it runs with that. And oh, there's nothing that builds connection like humor does, right? So I see some of you smiling, laughing, and that's how it basically is, right? So it's that simple. Where did you learn to coach and coach so confidently to pitch to clients? I use a term, it's a metaphor called Ekalavya. So Ekalavya in the Hindu segment is somebody who learns without a guru or without a teacher. He's learned it on his own. And at some point of time, the guru finds out that this person has figured it out, right? So I initially, if you had to look at it, I was coach trained, semi-orphaned until I got to my PCC. And then after some point, I realized what I love is my own freedom. So I have experimented extensively to a point to say, yes, I think now I have built my confidence internally, and that's unshakable. So it's an internal validation of, hey, yeah, I'm a good coach. And therefore, I don't have to look for anything else. And one thing I've realized is all coaching sessions, all markers will not be hit. Don't do coaching sessions to hit markers. Do coaching sessions, markers will eventually get hit. So that's how the strategy has been in terms of working with that. Uh, I'm conscious of all your questions. If I haven't answered your questions, please ask. Otherwise, I am assuming I have answered all of your questions. And now I do what I do best, which is to do marketing. So please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn here. The LinkedIn logo is predominantly visible. Put your phones out, connect with me here. If you want to join the WhatsApp community, get your peer hours, be a part of community, listen to me again and again once in a week, like many of us in the call are, Pratima, Govind, and a few others. So you can also join us. We are a community of around 300 coaches now from across the world. And when you jump along, you will also add to the vibrancy of the group. And if you want to give me a testimonial, this is the link about, yeah, this is where you scan it. It takes me over to your LinkedIn and it directly takes you there. And this is also keep these things handy. So whenever you meet somebody, ask them to scan your LinkedIn, get another follower, start posting so people will know that you're doing something like this. All of this adds to your client work. All right, so that I think in a long way concludes the affairs of this session. And but you feel free to, at least this is what from my end concludes it. But I'm happy to ask for questions, happy to ask for feedback. Um, yeah. How did you support yourself to build the necessary in the first year? Oh, it's a very long question. Answer. Very long answer to the this thing. Testimonial link is not working. Okay, let me help you with that. In the same time, until what? How did you support yourself to build the necessary? First year experimentation, right? Experimenting with poetry and coaching, experiment with different languages, experimenting with people from different cultures. I remember one of the sessions I coached a Singaporean client, a male Singaporean client. I did my coaching. He listened to me beautifully. He asked the right kind of questions. He got excited and he started speaking, and the speed was so difficult to catch. In 20 words, I only got two. And I ran the entire coaching session on the vibe of the client. How are you feeling? What would you like to do? What did you process? What are you learning about yourself? I didn't, for the love of God, figure out what he was talking about. But it didn't matter because he was talking for himself. Fine. So all these crazy ass experiments were done. Last year, I did a session where, like, if you see my left hand and my right hand, so I split the screen live in the ICW. Where I'm on this side, I'm the coach. When I'm on this side, I'm the client. Like you've seen these mono acting segments from Charlie Chaplin, all the other guys. So live in on the spot, I've done a coaching session like this. So I've done all sorts of crazy experiments. To say, okay, yeah, can I break my character of being a coach in this session? So all that experiments have gone through. But generally, yeah, in a way, you feel you're confident, keep pushing your boundaries. And then start with people you know, start with people you don't know, then slowly go to people outside of your network, start say, people coaching from different countries, so therefore different cultures. So that will be your direct, the teacher is in the session itself. The sessions teaches you more than the coach training institutes, but coach training institute just enable you with a tool, enable you with a segment, and it's like you getting ready to go to school and or ready to go to an exam. There's a difference in preparing, and there's a difference in actually in the exam attending that. So each of your sessions, if you're able to treat it like that, in a way that each becomes iterative coaching calls, it helps you figure out yourself way, way faster. Yes, thank you. And I think the testimonial link is not working. Let me just give you that right away. But other links are working, I'm suppose. Once you get to LinkedIn, you can still choose to give me a testimonial. And that too has come across only because of a coaching call where I invest in a coach myself, peer coaching and otherwise, to get to a place where I say, okay, look, what do I do to better myself? So I've asked, I now shied into asking for testimonials. It still is a little uneasy at times, but then the more times you do it, the easier it becomes. So if you do want to give me one, I just stay on for a minute before I figure out, and then you should be good to go. Mhm. Anything anybody would like to unmute and share before we get to closing? Mhm. Right. So here it is. This link should do work. Yes. On it. Thank you for all those that still stayed back to get to that point. If this also is not working, then yeah, forget it. All right. So thank you and most welcome. So all the other sessions are also equally interesting, if not crazier. So if at some point it feels you feel drawn to it, uh, feel free to jump on in. So if you need the link, let me know. I'd be happy to share the link. Yes, I stopped recording.